Joe Biden signed 4 more executive orders to fight systemic racism. Oh, no, excuse me. I didn't mean to use that word fight. That's inciting violence. Let's say to end systemic racism. Listen, have you heard of that book series called Chicken Soup for the Soul? The sum total of these 4 executive orders is what I call government soup for the soul. Okay? It's meant to comfort. It's meant to sound good. Listen, you dig into this, so it's going to give you indigestion. It is not going to be comforting. Let me tell you what these are just quickly. Number 1, Department of HUD, or Housing and Urban Development. Strengthening anti-discrimination housing policies is what this executive order was about. To give you an example, no more criminal background checks by landlords. Now listen, I used to be one of those evil landlords. I rented to lower income people. It's funny because I never did credit checks, because if they were renting from me, I knew their buying behavior. 1, they only stayed a few months. They owed everybody in town, and all I cared about was, do you have a job? How much do you make, and can you afford this? I'd charge a month rent up front, and then another month for deposit. When they stopped paying, I evicted them. Simple as that. So I based my business plan on their, the way they spent their money. I did do a criminal background check, though, because call me crazy, I didn't want to rent to people who were vandals and who would destroy a property every time when they would leave. And there were people who did that. Second executive order was on prisons. No more private prisons. Now, only 9% of prisoners are in private prisons, so I'm not sure how this is going to end systemic racism, but okay. Number 3, much the same thing, going to increase the sovereignty of Native American nations. Whew. Nothing says ending racism like that. And then the last one is directly against Trump, the executive order to help us combat violence and xenophobia against Asian Americans. And hey, I get it. It really bothers me when I am driving down the streets and I just see Asian Americans all along the roads been beaten up by people. It's terrible. All right, let's face it. What this is really about, coronavirus, Trump called it the China virus. Okay, that's what this is. Now, is this going to end systemic racism? Well, of course not. And what's funny to me, and this often happens with government, it's actually going to increase systemic racism. Here's how. The one thing I know that's going to happen from these executive orders is attorneys across America are going to be enriched through these executive orders, through lawsuits. And you know what's funny? 85% of lawyers in America are white. Hello! Standing ovation, Joe Biden.